Good evening and welcome to the Dollar Dogs and Beer podcast. I'm your host, Andrew. Joining me back again tonight is Joe. We were having some technical difficulties and some personal scheduling issues over the last week or two. So at least Joe, we've got you back. Jason tried to hop on. He is still having issues with StreamYard letting him in for some reason. So I will reopen a ticket with them and figure out what the hell's going on. So he'll be sending thoughts into us secondarily. So, Joe, how you holding up in this wonderful middle of May heat wave? Not even a late May heat wave.
I'm doing pretty good. I've had a lot of good stuff going on, outside of baseball, and it's overall can't complain.
No, that's good. I'm glad to hear that, man. So, what are you drinking tonight?
I am on the Evan Williams kick again.
Nice.
Evan Williams and Pepsi Zero is the first drink, and it'll be Mountain Dew in the next one. So,
all right. For me tonight, it feels like cruise ship weather, so I'm going with one of the things I drink in a cruise ship: a rum and Coke. You can never go wrong, ever.
now here's my question on the rum: do you prefer Morgan or Clear?
I prefer Morgan. I have no more Morgan left after a bachelor party I attended this past weekend, so this is Bacardi. But normally it would be Captain Morgan. I do prefer spiced rum to plain rum.
Interesting.
Yeah, and the cola anyway. Now, if we're talking mojitos, no, it's got to be some kind of clear rum, and it cannot be a mix. It's got to be with the fresh mint leaves muddled down and the simple syrup. A mojito's not hard to make, and I hate that so many people would rather just get a crappy sugar-loaded pre-mixed thing at the store instead of just take the time to make it, because once you've had a well-made real mojito, you'll never want to have one of those crappy premixes ever again. Honest to God.
Yeah.
All right, so we just passed the quarter-way mark tonight, and news was thankfully light this week after we had some deaths across baseball with Bobby Cox and Ted Turner last week, and I'm okay with the news cycle lightening up because that was a lot to have in one week. Especially losing Bobby, that one hit me pretty hard. So we're just gonna do it. We're gonna keep it simple tonight. We're gonna kind of give our power rankings / tier grades for the team so far and how they're doing. So we'll start it in the league. We don't know as well because we don't, our teams are NL teams and we prefer the NL because it's frankly the better league. I know I will always be biased. All right. So, Joe, would you rather go by division or would you rather go A down through F?
I think division is good. I think it's helpful to view it in a bit of a context, I think.
No, I agree. And honestly, my notes were by division anyway, so that makes it easier for me. All right, so we'll roll into the AL East first. I've got one A tier team, and that's obviously going to be the division leading Tampa Bay Rays. They have been insane this year. I did not have on my bingo card for baseball this year Tampa Bay leading the AL East at the quarter mark. They have been playing fantastic ball, 30-15 overall record. Not the most potent offense, although that's really mostly being compared to the Yankees. Their pitching has been great, though. A solid plus 25 differential. They're playing really well back in the Trop. They're over 500 against teams over 500. And they're the only American League team that has broken the 30-win plateau. So they are going to be my only, I'll tell you, they're my only A-tier team in the American League right now. So for the AL East, for you, is it just the Rays in your A-tier right now?
I don't know. I feel like for sure they're in that A-tier just by sheer success that they've had. 30 wins in a quarter of the year is hard to do. So that's obviously a big thing. I feel like the Yankees would probably be in that B plus A minus if you want to go, if you want to split hairs a little bit, just because I mean you're really only 2 wins off that pace, and you're doing that with, in general, overwhelming or underwhelming, performances here and there. So I think the Yankees are kind of that, like I said, B plus A minus team, but yeah.
Yeah, I have the Yankees in the B tier right now. They've played really well. They knocked the snot out of the ball. They're 1-8 against teams over 500 so far. And I know they don't set their schedule, but that's really bad. And I understand the rest of the division has been bad, so they haven't had an excessive number of chances yet to go after, to get to play the better teams. But you have to beat the teams that are on your schedule. We talk about that every year. The teams that are riding high because they have those quote unquote crappy teams. They didn't set their schedule; they're just playing what they have. But you look at the other metrics, and when I see 1-8 against 500 at the 25% mark at the season, I can't call you an A-tier team if you can't beat teams that are over 500. So for me, I have the Yankees solidly in the B tier. The Blue Jays, I'm flabbergasted how this was the team that pushed LA to the brink last year, made good moves in the offseason, and are 4 games under 500 right now. I'm gonna have them at C minus. I'm not ready to dump them into the basement yet, but yeah, it's crazy how top heavy the AL East is right now.
Yeah, I'd say that's fair. The Blue Jays to me were one of those teams where you just kind of thought they might work, but it's been disappointing at least at this point, given the fact that they didn't have any between years.
Yeah, I can't put my finger on everything wrong. I mean, their offense hasn't been great. I understand that, but their pitching hasn't been horrendous. They've only given up 199 runs. They're getting killed on the road. I don't know. And I do think the Blue Jays are going to rebound in the second half. This team has too much talent on it to be bad all year. I think they will rebound, but they're not there yet. And then as for Baltimore and the Red Sox, Baltimore, I'm going to put them. I'm going to give Baltimore, and I'm going to drop them in the D category for right now. I'm going to give them a slight boost because they have been absolutely wrecked with injuries. In Jason's notes he sent me last week, Baltimore's had more players in the IL than anyone so far. I don't know if that's changed going into this week, but they've had a ton of a ton of players hurt. The Red Sox, straight trash. Drop them in the F tier.
Yeah, I mean, the Red Sox is the one that's the most disappointing, I think. Given you thought they might have a decent year. Obviously, they had to plug the Bregman hole, and they haven't successfully done that yet. They're definitely that F tier category, and Jason's in agreement on that one. I think Baltimore, like you both alluded to, injuries is the big thing that's keeping them out of the F category, because outside those injuries, they're definitely better than the Blue Jays as a club at this point if they don't have all those injuries.
Yeah.
And Jason's other grades, just to catch up on that. He said Tampa Bay was an A plus. I mean, enough said.
Yeah.
New York, he had them at an A just because they dropped that series to the Mets over the weekend, and that kind of lowers your thought on them.
I can't put them in. I can't even put them in an A tier after dropping that to the Mets. I can't.
Yeah, and Toronto, he had them at a C. So I think we're all in agreement so far as to where everybody is.
Okay, Baltimore D, Boston. Oh wow, wow, that's a rare, decent amount of agreement from the three of us. I'll take it. All right, let's roll it into the AL Central, which does feature two teams over 500. This is still such a god awful disappointing division so far. All right. Leading the way, the Guardians are at 26 and 22. Plus 13 on the run differential. I'm going to put Cleveland in a B. I don't have any of these teams in the A category overall, but I'll give Cleveland a B. I'm going to give the White Sox a B plus because this team is over 500 for the first time in how many years now?
Yeah.
So enough said. They are far exceeding expectations. They've got one hell of a home run hitter that they pulled from overseas who is doing wonderful things on my fantasy squad, I might add. I had to have my dad drop Lindor because for some reason, even though Lindor's hurt, the Can't Cutlass superseded it, which irritated the hell out of me. So thank God for that. For me, Minnesota, I feel like they are what we thought they were. I'm going to give them a C. Detroit, because we had such high expectations, I'm not going to drop them to F because Scooble's injury, if I'm not going to throw Baltimore in all the way down to an F because of injuries, I'll do the same for Detroit. I'm going to give Detroit a D. The Royals are getting a straight F. I don't know what the hell is up with that franchise. They've got a lot of good young talent. They've got great pitching, although their pitching, I will admit, has not been showing its finest this season. I don't know why the Royals can't get stuff figured out and start hitting, or why they don't address their lack of hitting.
Yeah, I think looking at the division, I'll start at the bottom since we started with the Royals. This is definitely one of those. It just feels so. I mean, it's amazing to me that they're only 2.5 back in a wild card this early, with how poor they've been playing. But yeah, to me, probably that D category. Probably you almost could put them at an F just because they didn't really address the big issues in the offseason. And so, like, at some point, you're almost cursed, kind of like the Angels have been, where you have a legend, a superstar player, and you do nothing to elevate that superstar player. In this case, Bobby Witt, obviously, but like, it's disappointing, really, because I mean, you look 11 years ago, the Royals won a World Series, and it's hard to believe that they weren't able to maintain that for much longer with the talent they had.
Not only did they win the World Series, they had multiple trips to the World Series in a short period of time. Mm-hmm. Like that the middle 2010s Royals were those were damn good clubs. Like, they're not that far off of that.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, the thing with the Tigers, I think, obviously it's disappointing with the expectations I think we have of them. What's really interesting and of note, and I don't know if you saw this or not, but Scooble's already thrown off the bullpen less than 2 weeks out.
Wow.
Which is incredible.
That's stunning. I didn't see that.
Well, he threw like a bullpen at their Florida facility the other day or something, and then today he threw off the mound or bullpen at Comerica. So he's with the team now.
Dang.
Already, and he threw like a full Arsenal bullpen like he normally would. 2 weeks post-op, and it's symptom-free. They're trying to temper expectations from what I read, because it's like, yes, you feel really good, but like, we still need to put the old school governor switch on you a little bit, just to make sure that you don't overdo it. But I just feel like Scuba wasn't their only their only star, and the fact that they're underperforming to this point, you have to give them that DF category. I mean, if they can't get things going in the right direction here the next few weeks, even with Scooble back, it may not make a difference.
Can I just ask, was anybody else not even slightly surprised at Framber Valdez?
I mean, you got the history. That's the way it is. So
Yeah, I the moment I saw that, I was like, huh. At least the catcher didn't get hit this time.
yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, the other thing I would say too with this division is that the Twins, um, to me, they're in that D category too because it just feels like they're another one of those teams you could almost even put them in the F category. I know they're in the middle of this division, but like
yeah,
they really should have done more to improve in the offseason. And then you have other things happen, and it just becomes an issue. So to me, um, I know they didn't hit that magic number you were talking about, but to me, having Cleveland and the White Sox where they are right now,
hmm
um, to me is an A thing because number one,
that's fair.
Cleveland is doing that without their two, well, at least one of their best bullpen pitchers. We'll see if he ever plays again in
Yeah,
Class A, and Ortiz is the other one. So it's just like to be able to have the success they're having from the guys that they brought up to start the year. Chase DeLauder is having a really good start to his rookie year, and the Murakami thing. I mean, Murakami, the stat line, he's got 38 hits on the year, and half of those are home runs or doubles, and then the other half is singles. Like that's
yeah.
an amazing split.
He's nuts. He's absolutely nuts, and I am so glad that I have him on my fantasy roster. I truly am.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the 32 RBIs, the 36 walks already. I mean, guy is really seeing the ball extremely well, and it's really exciting for them on the south side to have this because it's just you know I truly hope this is not like the Red Sox where they peak too early, but
Yeah,
this is exciting for Chicago to have both teams be good.
and I do expect Murakami to slow down. I mean, pitchers are going to start feeling him out more. I have noticed, like looking at some of his advanced metrics, he has trouble with higher velocity. Like Pat, I think it's 96 plus. His average plummets pretty hard. I think part of that is they don't see that kind of velo over in the Japanese league, so he's still getting used to that over here. But I honestly, his eye is good enough. I think he'll eventually catch up to it. So it's going to be fun watching. Every time you have a new player come up or enter the league, it's fun watching the cat and mouse game between the hitters and the pitchers.
Definitely. And so Jason's grades before we moved to the West.
Yes,
He had Kansas City at a D, Detroit at a D, Minnesota with a C. The White Sox with an A. Record is so much more better than any of us
that's
could have
fair.
hoped for.
Yeah, that's fair.
And he had Cleveland at a B. So
Yeah, I think he's kind of thinking Cleveland's kind of sort of what we expected. So.
right.
All right, moving to the West. The West doesn't seem to want any. Nobody seems to want to win this division right now. The Athletics, shockingly, are leading still. Good for them. Truly good for them. With a 500 record. And behind that, it's just a whole lot of does anybody want to win this division? The Athletics are leading the division with a negative run differential, for the record, negative 13. None of the teams in the division have a record over 500 against 500 plus teams. The Rangers and Mariners do now have run differentials in the positives at +3 and +6. Yeah, I know, big time, big time. So for the top three teams, because I think there's a very clear drop off after the top three teams. The A's, because I'm going to give them a little boost like the White Sox because compared to expectations, the A's are fantastic. Shea Langoliers is again proving why I didn't want to trade him because he has been damn good. I should shut up. Matt Olson's having an MVP type year, so I'll shut up about that. But
Yeah, you better shut up.
yeah, yeah. But what? There's a reason though that I didn't want to trade Langoliers. I'll just leave it at that. I'm going to put the A's at. I'm going to give them a B plus. I can't quite bump them to an A, but I think a B plus is very fair for how they've done so far. The Rangers, their pitching has been exactly what we expected it to be. They need to get some damn offense on that team because those pitchers are busting their asses. They have only given up 168 runs. For reference, I think Atlanta's still the best in the league. Yeah, Atlanta has only given up 152 runs. So they're not that far behind Atlanta in runs allowed. They just, the big difference is Atlanta scored 250, Texas has scored 171. If Texas can bring in some bats to back up that pitching they have, they should be able to jump and take this division. And so I'm going to give the Rangers a C plus. The Mariners, I'm going to go. I'm going to go C minus. We expected the Mariners to be better than this. They made it to the AL pennant last year, and they got, frankly, they had a great offseason, and I think they got better. They're just, nothing is clicking with that team right now. And I'll grant you, a lot of their players are traditionally better second half players than first half players. J-Rod being one of the biggest of those second half, first half split guys. But Seattle is definitely disappointed so far. Although I'll give Seattle credit, they are the only team that has beaten Atlanta in a series so far this year. I will absolutely give them credit for that. Houston, Los Angeles, F, straight up, no chaser. F tier for both of them, and may the Astros enjoy as much time in purgatory as it can be allowed. What do you got, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll do Jason's first. Jason had the A's at a B. He had the Rangers at a C, Seattle C minus, D minus for Houston, and an F for the Angels. I'm in line with you. I think obviously the Angels are a dumpster fire. That's definitely an F.
I feel so bad for Kurt Suzuki because I think he actually has the chance to be a good manager down the road, but with limited coaching experience and then to be given this roster, it's tough.
One of the things that strikes me about the Angels is that you look at Trout and you're like, I understand some team loyalty because they brought you up and all that, but like, how much do you regret the contract you signed and playing awful baseball for years and years and years? Like, it's really disappointing. And I mean, Suzuki is one of those, like you said, he's going to be good down the road, I think, and I hope that the Angels give him enough rope to develop and figure out and put a roster that he can, compete with out there. But until management and ownership gets serious, this is ridiculous. The Astros to me is another one of those where it's an F. You knew that you were going to have holes and problems, and you didn't fill them properly, and we're seeing the fruits of that. Seattle, to me, you're definitely. I don't know where to put them. To me, C is almost too generous. C minus is almost too much, and it's like, there was definitely had to be some doubt that Raleigh could pull it off what he did last year again.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm gonna go C minus on them. It just feels like they're, like you said, we expect too much of them, and we should. I mean, I know a friend of the show, Dave, expects a lot out of them, and we agree with him. But like, it's a little ridiculous that they continue to underperform so much in the first half. And I know it's only a quarter of the way through the year, but it just feels like you put yourself behind and then you're playing catch up and you miss by a game or two. And it's like, you don't want to overreact in April and May, but at the same time,
those games still count in the standings.
They still matter. So they're definitely a C minus for me. I think the Rangers is one of those things, like you said, the offense has just not been good enough for them, and the pitching's been fantastic. The not having Simeon offensively, even though he was down a bit in that big park that he was playing in there in Texas. But like, it just feels to me as if they didn't really do enough to offensively. They're just underperforming, and it's just disappointing there. So to me, that's probably a C category. I kind of agree with you guys on that. And I think the A's that B minus is probably good. It just obviously they're outperforming expectations, but I mean this division makes you feel like the AL Central is actually competitive.
Yeah.
And that's something we've not been saying for a long time. I mean, we've had the AL West as that super ultra competitive division, and now it feels like the AL West is the the division that's the worst.
Yeah, like I remember our first season back in 21. You know, the the AL Central was a hot division back. That was the end of the last run of the White Sox. The Guardians were solid. The Twins were really good, and it's crazy how you're right. It's crazy how much that's flipped.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, it's I just because I was curious, I looked up where we had the predictions for the Mariners. Um, we had them at oh shoot, there it is. Sorry, I accidentally flipped my screen. We have them at I had 94, Jason at 92, you at 85.
Yeah.
If the Mariners are not going to make us look like a bunch of fools, they really need to get their asses moving.
Yeah. And here's some things just as we kind of wrap up the American League to think about. This is from Jason Stark on The Athletic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the AL looks just hideously awful.
Yeah.
Now this article was based out on Friday, but like until the Guardians swept the Angels last week, only two teams in the league were more than 2 games over 500.
Yeah.
Like
the AL is not good this year. The top is good, and then there's a whole lot of mediocrity, and then there's garbage fires.
Yeah, and the other stat that's crazy, you mentioned run differential a lot. Through last Wednesday, only 4 of the 15 AL teams had a positive run differential.
4?
Yeah, it's bad.
Well, tonight that number is only 5.
Right. Yeah,
God,
it's
that's
something.
awful.
But
that's
yeah.
Don't get me wrong. The very top of the AL can match up with the top of the NL, but past that, and I know early on the interleague numbers are skewed pretty heavily towards the National League right now, but the National League also had more home games in the early rounds of interleague, so that should balance out a little more closer to the end of the year. But that said, the National League is killing the American League right now.
Yeah.
Speaking of the National League, let's go to the league that doesn't suck outside of the top 3 or 4 teams. All right, let's get in the NL East. Obviously, Atlanta's A+ tier. Or as the kids rank things now, they're the S tier, whatever the hell that means. I don't know why we had to go past A for something past A. Yeah, whatever. Superior. I don't even know what it means. Anyway, Atlanta has beaten everybody they've played except for Seattle. That's again, like I said, that's the only series they have dropped this year, and they've been winning games big. They've been winning games small. Walt Weiss has been a godsend. He is putting some small ball aspects back in. They're starting to bunt again. They're not always going for the big home run. They're willing to play a little small ball and slap the ball where it's hit. The new hitting coaches seem to be better. I like the base coaches. Just some quick numbers here, Joe. They're 13-1-1 in their 15 series so far. They have won every home series so far, 8-0. They're 7-1 in rubber games, which that's crazy that in 15 series, only 8 of them they've needed to have a rubber game. They are 21-8 when they score first, and they are 24-2 when they score 5 or more runs. The numbers speak for themselves, I am happy to say. God, it's so good to be back on top again. Last year sucked.
There are two things that come to mind. Obviously, it's hard to argue when you have the best record in the league.
Yeah.
Obviously, both Jason and I A+. Obviously, I mean, you can't argue with best record in the league, and we have to give you that one.
Yeah.
It is really amusing to me. When we started the year, you were talking so much about how awful the schedule was. I guess the schedule wasn't so bad, huh?
Yeah, they are making me look like a worrywart to no end. The worrying mother hen, whatever. Yeah, they handled the schedule fantastic. Yeah. They're 16-8 at home and 16-7 on the road, 13-5 over 500. They have scored 250 runs. Actually, it's second in the division. The Nationals have actually scored 255. Problem is, we've only allowed 152, and the Nationals have allowed 268.
Yeah.
Now, let's look at the Phillies, who are literally a tale of two teams.
Yeah.
Before, pre-fire and post-fire. Pre-fire, they're a dumpster fire F. After the firing with Don Mattingly, they're an A. So I'm going to go C. I think at the halfway point when we hit the All-Star break, I think we'll easily have the Phillies in the B tier. I'm not quite, early results have been fantastic. If they continue, I will have absolutely no issue putting them in the B tier. I'm just not quite there yet. There are still questions I have. They've looked great. Schwarber's been everything we expect Schwarber to be. Crawford's been a lot of fun to watch. There's still a lot of lingering issues. Alec Boehm in particular is an eyesore in that lineup right now. And the pitching, they've got to get the pitching figured out. Because Wheeler being back will help tremendously, pushing everybody down a spot. But like Aaron Nola so far this year has been absolute garbage for the Phillies. And it makes me very glad we did not sign him as a free agent, because good God, I would be really pissed right now if he was on my team going 2-3 with a 5.91 ERA. I will say this, Jason's big thing he has been irritated about is Dombrowski just sitting pat saying, yeah, we like what we have, when there were very clear, obvious, glaring holes on the roster that, you lose out in the big free agent chase and then you just roll over and say that's it.
Yeah, I mean, to me, first Jason's numbers, you were this close to agreeing with Jason completely. He had an F, obviously, and then he had an A+ for the second part. C+.
What are they like 14-4 since Mattingly took over, or something really stupid? He's not wrong. They have been worlds on fire.
I do think I know Boehm had a really good weekend, or a decent weekend at least. So hopefully that is he's on the other side of the really bad stretch he was having. I tend to agree with both of you guys. I'll go with Jason for the sake of splitting the tie here, but
that's fine. Like I said, I think at the All-Star break we're gonna have the Phillies very solidly in the B tier, and I think we're all probably going to be pretty rounded about that. They're not going to keep up this 14-4 since Mattingly took over pace. This isn't MLB The Show. This is real baseball, so it's going to slow back down, but I don't think it's going to go crashing as bad as it was under Topper.
Yeah, I think, to me, it just feels like, obviously this is, when we get to the All-Star break, we could have a tie at the NL East with the way things go. Like it just could be that way.
I don't know if they're going to make up 8 games by the All-Star break. But certainly by August, September, they could absolutely be chasing us back down. And honestly, I'm okay with that. I don't want to be running away with it this early. I don't want the damn Braves to get complacent. Challenge them, please.
I think, I mean, obviously they're they'll be fine. I think it's nice to finally see some success. It does really highlight the fact that the way that they started the year and the hole they kind of dug for themselves really highlights the whole you should not have lost out on Ranger Suarez. I'm sorry, that's just
Yeah,
inexcusable. And I
yeah,
know Jason probably feels somewhat similar to that. It's one of those things you just can't miss out on Ranger. He had an excellent couple of years there, and you know he was going to have even better years.
yeah. And I mean, Rangers record's not great with the Sox right now, 2-2, but he's got a 2.44 ERA and a .947 WHIP. It's not his fault. His team won't give him run support. He is doing
Right.
everything that they have signed him to do, and I completely agree with you. I actually was I was hoping honestly that Atlanta would try and go after Ranger Suarez, but I figured the number would go higher than they would be comfortable with. Um, I I thought the Phillies gave up on him too soon, honestly, in that free agent chase. Because yeah, that's homegrown talent. Like they know what that guy can give them better than anybody. I mean, I remember when he was closing for them, or late bullpen with a sub 1 ERA, and then they moved him to starting because yeah, and boy, that worked out great. I Yeah, definitely. Dombrowski usually has, as he's had some hits, he's had some misses, but he's generally speaking with the Phillies anyway. I think he's had more hits than misses, but I think that's going to be a big miss that's going to haunt him by the end of his time in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I'd say that's fair.
The Nationals, I'm going to go see. They have been pleasantly better than expected. I did call them scrappy in the NL East preview, and I still think they're very scrappy. And like I said, they've got big bats. The problem is they don't have pitching.
Right.
So if the Nationals can maybe get some pitching, or if their pitching starts to develop and come up, that down the road they're definitely going to be a scary team to watch. The Marlins, I'm going to give them a D because they're doing better than I expected. Granted, my expectations were they were about as high as a midget doing a high jump, but they have exceeded that. They've exceeded that. And the Mets, yeah, I could spend a whole episode piling on the Mets. For brevity's sake, I won't, but I could easily do it. And I'm not heartbroken to see the Mets playing this bad. But I had a lot of questions about the Mets coming into the year, and this collapse has been spectacular to watch. Honest to God, if there's one thing you're going to get Braves and Phillies fans to agree on, we professionally dislike each other. We all hate the Mets, so none of us are upset to see the Mets sitting at 20-26 with one of the most bloated payrolls in baseball. That's not named the Los Angeles Dodgers. Yeah, I mean, is there something lower than F minus? Because if there is, that's where the Mets belong in the absolute lowest tier of baseball right now. Given preseason expectations, who's on the roster? Yes, I know they've had injuries to Soto, they've had injuries to Lindor. I understand that, and yes, you can fairly say, Andrew, you gave some grace to the Orioles, you gave some grace to the Tigers, but no, I'm not going to give grace to the Mets. They've bought up everything that they want. They continue to make bad decisions, and they're just all the chips are coming in at once, and oh well, tough shit. F minus 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 minus.
So I'll start with Jason's. Jason's was a C for the Nationals, so you guys were in agreement there. He did a C minus for the Marlins, and he did a. I'll start with his. He said a Z. F, I guess, is the most realistic, but they've been so bad. Um, for me, I'll say I think Washington I agree with. I think the Marlins I agree with. The Mets is one of those things where it just feels like, um, you know, of all the guys that they let go, Alonso is the one I most disagreed with.
Yep.
I think Todd will probably say the same thing. I know my father-in-law feels that way. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it
I
just
thought they
feels
were
like
nuts. I thought they were nuts letting Alonso go.
Like I don't necessarily agree with it, but I understand Nemo because you're trying to get Simeon, and I understand that because letting McNeil go to the A's made no sense at all because McNeil's been really good he's been a steady hitter. I mean, every once in a while he has some bad streaks, but like you know, McNeil is a few years removed from a batting title. Like he at least knows how to hit the ball. Um, he wasn't as consistent as Simeon was, and I think that's probably why they let him go.
I think Simeon was one of the worst deals they made. Simeon's been awful. He's batting 229, 287, 325. Like he's never had power, but he's got a flat WAR of 0. Like he's not even getting boosts from his defense right now like he normally gets. He's
right.
He's been bad. Like his D WAR is negative 0.1 right now. He has been really bad.
Yeah, it's really hard to argue with an F for the Mets because it's just been you made the moves you made, you didn't make moves you didn't make, and you're sort of reaping what you sow. I think what's really hard with all of this with the Mets is that it's like you have the Dodgers in the position that they're in, right? And then you have the Mets in a position that they're in, and it's like with this whole collective bargaining stuff hanging over everything, it's like, okay, well, here's a team with all this money and they're doing well, and here's a team that spends almost the same amount and they're doing poorly. So, does that, does that alter some of the discussion around a cap versus, the floor and all that stuff?
Yeah, we'll have to see on that. I still think the floor is a bigger issue than the top, but I'm
agreed. I totally agree with you on that. I just think that it's just one of those things. Like if the Mets were dominating the NL East, then it's clear that there needs to be some sort of spending top, whether it's a deferral limit or something.
Yeah.
But definitely a floor has to be there.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's kick it on to the NL Central, which, Joe, you guys have the best division in baseball right now, top to bottom. Everybody's over 500, and nobody wants to fuck with the Central right now, respectfully. Even the Pirates are not rolling over. They are playing some damn good baseball. You go ahead, take the lead, and I'll read Jason's stuff.
Yeah, so, I mean, I feel like for me, I'm going to start at the bottom just because it feels like I can, work my way up through the division a little bit better. Mm-hmm. To me, the Reds are, I'm going to say like that they're probably a C-. It just feels like they're underperforming what a lot of expectations were for the talent that they have and their manager. Obviously, it's hard to say you're underperforming when every team in the division is over 500. But of the expectations we had, they certainly have underperformed. The Pirates are, I think, where we thought they would be, pretty close. Obviously the run support issues for Skeens and Skeens having one or two bad outings, and not having. Jared Jones is the one who is out, I think, for the Pirates. I think if he were pitching, this would be a much different ball club. Maybe not leading the division, but definitely 2-3 wins different.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously having such a drop off between Skeens and then Keller and then the rest of the rotation is kind of hard. So I think they're right about where I thought they'd be. They're probably a C. The Cardinals to me is based on performance, regarding expectations. This is one of those B+, A- clubs because you didn't expect them to be anywhere close to the top of the division at this point of the year. The Brewers are the Brewers. I mean, it's really hard for me to objectively do the Brewers, but I mean, look, you're 8-2 in your last 10, so obviously you're on a roll right now.
Yeah.
But to me, the Brewers are probably I'm gonna say A minus. I'm gonna give them their respect.
Yeah.
And the Cubs, to me, given the amount of injuries, I want to say A, right? I do. I really want to say A, but to me, it's a B plus
Okay.
and maybe a solid B. And I don't know if that's me hedging. Alex might think I'm underselling it or whatever. But to me, like last year at the end of the year, close to the end of the year, I think I said to Jason one time, I said, this feels like the most Met 92 win team last year. And this year, like,
That's fair.
yes, you have a lead in the division, but I don't feel comfortable with anybody except maybe Nico up in a clutch situation right now. I just don't, from a hitting standpoint. Pitching wise, they've had obviously all these injuries that they've dealt with.
Yeah.
Um, where you had, I think, 12 of your total pitchers in your
Yeah.
organization on the IL, which is just insane.
Yeah. Your
Um,
pitching injuries have been unheard of.
yeah, to me, the fact that they went and got Cabrera and he's underperformed based on what he did when he was with the Marlins. Um, Cabrera in Marlins form is worth another 2-3 wins, and they're probably tied with the Braves if that happens.
Yeah.
But they haven't gotten that. So to me, the Cubs are a solid B, maybe a B plus, just based on my expectations, and maybe I have too high of expectations for them. I'm willing to admit that, but it just seems to me as if you're underperforming. Like I said, I don't feel comfortable with any of them in a clutch spot at this point. It just kind of feels like, yeah, you're good, but like I'm not confident that they're going to take this division. And I know we're only a quarter of the way through, but it just feels like
Especially with Milwaukee heating up. Yeah, I get that. I
right.
completely get that. All
I
right.
mean, when you look at real quick, just two
Yeah.
numbers I want to give you. When Seiya with runners in scoring position is hitting 125, Hap is hitting 160, and your best guy is a Maya at 348. I'm a little concerned.
Yeah, I get that. I do. All right. Jason's grades first. He has the Reds and the Pirates both at B plus. Oh, he went high. Okay. St. Louis, he's got A, Milwaukee A, Chicago A. All right. For me, Cincinnati, I'm gonna go C plus. I'm trending I'm trending lower down towards you. Like they're over 500, but they're negative 35 on run differential. Their pitching's not good. Like their offense isn't bad, but their pitching's not good, and they're 4-12 against 500 plus teams. So I Cincinnati. I feel like they're very lucky to be at 24-23 right now. The Pirates, I'm gonna go B minus for the Pirates. They're definitely better than I've expected, but they've also, their rare foray into free agency has worked out so far. And I refuse to give their idiot owner any credit whatsoever, so I'm not. But Paul Skeens has had a few rough starts, and he's looked fine otherwise. So no shocker there. The Cardinals, I'm not ready to bump them into the A category just yet. I'm going to go B plus right now. Jordan Walker has been a delight to watch this year. That was the big thing. What are we going to get? This is it. What are we going to get from Jordan Walker? This is kind of the prove it or lose it year, and he is so far all in on prove it. They're only +3 on differential. They're solid. I'll say this: they're solid against the 500 teams so far, going 15-7, and they've played really well on the road. Only 12-11 at home, which is a little weird to me. I feel like they've gotten lucky though in some stretches, so I'm not personally ready to bump the Cardinals up into the A tier quite yet. I have them just under at B plus. Alex, by the way, says he has the Cubbies at A minus. For me, I've got I'm kind of with you. I'm kind of with you there on your secondary analysis of the Cubs. So I'm going to go A minus Cubs, Brewers A. So that's where I'm at. But your division's murderer's row right now. Nobody wants to screw with the Central.
Yeah, and I mean, you really look at right now they're playing Milwaukee this week. Right now to start the week, and so like we could be entering the weekend out of first place or in a tie, and
Yeah.
that doesn't make me feel very good.
That's fair. That's very fair. All right, moving over to the division of big spenders, also known as the West. I think it's very easy to just dump the Rockies in the F tier. I don't think there needs to be any discussion on that. They are who we thought they were, and we thought they were going to be garbage, and they are garbage. I'm also going to put San Francisco in the F tier. I didn't have much in the way of expectations, and they have proven those correct so far. Wow, and they've played plenty of 500 plus ball, and they are 14-20. Let me say that again, 14-20. So they've had opportunities to show that there might be something there, and I'm not seeing it. The Diamondbacks at 22-23. I'm going to put them in I'm going to go C minus, C somewhere in there. Kind of what I expected. Like this is a team that should be able to at least be chasing the Padres, and they're not. They seem to be content to wallow in the middle of the division right now. Now then, for the top, the Padres, I'm going to go B plus. I can't quite push the Padres into that A tier yet. They're only +7 on the run differential. They're under 500 against 500 teams at 7-9. They've played good ball. Don't get me wrong. They're hanging there with the Dodgers. They had a chance to put a dagger in the Dodgers in September last year, and they couldn't do it. And I kind of feel like, as amazing as Mason Miller is, I'm still kind of feeling like that this is a good team, but they're not going to be able to catch the Dodgers. Their offense isn't there, frankly. Their pitching is very, very good, but the offense is not there to support a team that's going to go big. And then the Dodgers, who are doing their best to buy 3 straight World Series. I guess I have to put them in the A tier, but there's a lot of things I don't necessarily like. I mean, their score, the hitting and pitching has been there, no doubt about it. They have been awful against 500 plus teams. They've been 5-7. And again, I understand they haven't played a lot of 500 plus teams. Atlanta just came into town in Los Angeles and took 2 out of 3. And the 2 games that Atlanta won big. So I'll let the Dodgers have their A, but I'm going to hedge it to an A minus because this is a team that, based on the run differential, they should be like a 33-14, 34-13 kind of team, and they haven't cracked 30 wins yet. So, yeah, they're going to win the division. The Padres, like I said, I don't trust the Padres to catch them, but it's hard to be firmly sold on the Dodgers being the be-all, the end-all. Like this is of the past 3 years, this is the Dodgers team I am the least confident in. All right, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I mean, it's with the Rockies for me. It's like you're almost a little bit better than I expected at 40 games in, or 40 some games in. Like to me, it almost feels like they're still an F. Don't get me wrong, but they're pretty close to it. They're pretty close to us, just because the fact that they have double-digit wins already is a market improvement. You've almost cracked 20 wins.
That's
and
harsh, but
we're in the middle of May. I don't really think that's a bad assessment, though. Like, you're almost at 20 wins, and you were lucky to get 20 wins by the All-Star break a year or two ago.
Yeah, it's true. That's true.
There's a little bit of an improvement there. I mean, it's still an F plus, but I feel like I gotta give them the plus just because they're in, almost 20 already.
Yeah, because they deserve to be tiered ahead of the Mets.
Yeah. I think that's fair. Look, the Giants, to me, what's mind-boggling to me as you started talking and as I started looking, and they've played 34 games against 500-plus teams.
Yeah.
Like, that is mind-boggling to me.
Oh yeah, I'm not taking away the fact that they have truly had a murderer's row schedule so far, and it has been brutal. I'm not going to take that away from the Giants, but
I mean, the team that's played the weakest schedule so far is the Yankees, with that only 9 games above 500. Like, to have played 34 games above 500 is just ridiculous. And again, you can't make the schedule. You can't do that.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
you play what's in front of you.
To me, I think a D is fair because, I mean, I don't know how high our expectations were with a straight out of college manager and the roster they had, but I feel like we expected them to have, I'll say, at least 5 more wins than they have now.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting them to be this bad. Truly, yeah. I thought they were going to be somewhat better than this.
Right. So I feel like, to me, a D is good territory for the Giants. The Diamondbacks are kind of in that D plus range to me.
Yeah.
It just kind of feels like I expect better from them. If that makes sense. Like, it's like you've underperformed to the point where I'm like, I expected you to be closer to where the Padres are. And so for me, it's like, okay, you're below the average, I guess, for this division. To me, the Padres, it's one of those where, yeah, do I want them to take off with this division? I think you're right about your assessment with the Dodgers, where it feels like it's an underwhelming roster. It's hard to say that with the Dodgers, but with the results so far, it's been underwhelming. Where you didn't crack the 30 is kind of wild, especially with only those 12 games with teams above 500, like you pointed out. So, yeah. To me, like the Padres are. I'm gonna say they're the A tier, and I'm gonna do the Dodgers as an A minus, just because it feels like, to me,
yeah,
when you spend the money you spend and you bring in the players you bring in, and you have the schedule that you have, so you only have 12, like I said, 12 games against 500 plus competition. Yeah, you should be in the single digits loss column with the team that they have.
Yeah,
I don't think there's anything else to say there. It just feels like they should easily be in the second, single digit loss column there with the roster they have and the schedule they've had.
Yeah, and here looking at Jason's stuff for the West: Colorado F, San Francisco D, Arizona C. He put San Diego and the Dodgers both in the A's. So this is definitely the weakest Dodgers team of the last 3 years, and I don't know that this is a team that I really honestly have much faith in to make a World Series run, because they haven't shown it so far. Like, I know, again, I understand limited competition against 500 teams,
right?
But the Dodgers haven't exactly showed out so far. I mean, yeah, They're pouring. They are pouring in runs against crappy teams. Let me pull this back up. Sorry, I had their schedule up, and then like an idiot, I closed it.
Well, when you look at like just their run differential, right? They're plus 94 in the run differential. The Cubs are at plus 42, and the Brewers are at plus 61. The Braves are at the plus 98. Like, it just seems a little ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
The Yankees are at a plus 68. The Rays are at plus 25. I mean, the roster you have with the competition you've played, having that run differential and having the record they have is ridiculous.
Yeah, like a lot of their run differential is padded playing bad teams.
Right.
Like 13-6 over the Nationals, 10-5 over the Nationals, 14-2 over the Blue Jays. They've got an 8-2 win over the Mets. They've got a 7-1 win over the Rockies. They've got a 12-3 win over the Rockies, although they split that series actually, which that's I understand it was in the Mile High Stadium, but still. They had the 12-4 and 6-0 wins over the Cubs. So those were good wins. I'll give them that. But like they've got a bunch of double-digit wins. Like they've got a 12-2 win over Houston. Both the losses to Atlanta were 7-2. The one game they won 3-1.
Right.
Against the Angels, 6-0, 15-2, 10-1. The last half of San Francisco, 4-0, 5-2, but they also lost 9-3, 6-2. I first of all, I love that San Francisco is the Miami Marlins of the NL West to the Dodgers. I thoroughly enjoy that. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's like the run differential's there, a lot of stuff's there, but something's just not right. And this is the Dodgers team I fear the least of the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So,
and as sort of like a start to sort of look at these numbers so far, one of the things I also saw in Stark's article in The Athletic was through 40 games, like, did the WBC take a bigger toll than we thought? You look at these following teams. These teams had 14 or more participants. The Mets had 17, the Mariners at 16, the Phillies at 15, the Red Sox, Royals, Pirates, and Brewers all had 14 participants in the World Baseball Classic. And a lot of them have underperformed to this point of the season.
There could be something strong to that, yeah.
And according to Stark's article, an executive of one team that had a lot of missing regulars. I know in spring training we had no energy. It was awful. The energy in our clubhouse, it wasn't there. Feels like our stars were gone. Our new players didn't get to know their teammates. And in spring training, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
The chemistry isn't built. April turns into spring training essentially for some of these clubs, is what they thought. Do we move it? Do you do the early rounds at the All-Star break? Do you do like a All-Star break, Olympic break style to get some of this stuff in? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what the right answer with the World Baseball Classic is. I really don't.
It just definitely feels like a factor.
Yeah, I think it's more of a factor than we've been willing to believe. Well, you've been calling it out as a factor for a while now, but as more data is coming in, I'm starting to lean more your way than I ever did before on it. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems to me as if, I don't know, just something has to change with it.
Yeah, it's
and a couple notes on the Pirates, just because this is interesting stuff. The last time since the Pirates played a postseason game when they got ousted in 2015 in the wild card, 202 different players have marched to home plate for the Pirates. 191 different pitchers have thrown a pitch for the Pirates. And the Steelers and Penguins have played 99 playoff games.
That's nuts.
I really hope that changes this year because that city is craving a winning baseball team, and so far they've been pretty good, as we talked
And,
about. But like those numbers are wild.
yeah. And the thing that really drives me nuts, Pittsburgh's a great baseball town. They've got really good, knowledgeable fans out there. That's a town that's a place that has deserved a good team for a long time. And I really, really hope, true, even though I hate their owner with every ounce of my being and want him to sell to someone who actually gives a crap, especially because they have one of the most beautiful stadiums ever built in baseball. Um, you know, I truly do hope the Pirates continue to be successful this season. I would love to see that team make the playoffs. Can you imagine dealing with Paul Skeens game one and game 5 in the freaking NLDS? Shoot me.
Yeah, really.
All right, let's move it to down on the farm. So for our hitter this week, I'm going to go with I'm going to stay in the International League for both. I'm going to go with Jacob Gonzalez. He is a shortstop for the Charlotte Knights. They are the AAA affiliate of the Chicago White Sox. Over the last week, in 5 games, he has had 21 at-bats. He is slashing 476, 542, 1.143. He has 6 runs, 10 hits, 2 doubles, 4 homers, 12 RBIs, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts, and a stolen base. It's not a bad week, man.
Not at all.
I wish I could have ever had a week like that in Little League. All right, let's see here. How about now? Your whip's too high. Your whip's too high. You know, I normally like to give preference to the guys that had 2 starts, but I'm going to go with a 1-start guy. We're going to go with Brendan Beck of the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders, the AAA affiliates of the New York Yankees. I love their team name too.
Yeah.
Beck, he only had 1 game. He only lasted 5 2/3, but he got the win. He allowed 1 hit. He allowed no earned runs. He allowed 1 walk, and he struck out 9. Whip of .35 and an average against of .056 to go with a beautiful ERA of 0.
Wow.
So, yeah, like I said, I really do like to give preference, and I know Jason does too, to the guys that made multiple starts, but that's a pretty stellar week right there. So
Definitely.
so that's down on the farm. Let's roll it into the hot list. My hitter for the week, I know who yours is. I know who you've got for Moneyball. So I'm going to go with Angel Martinez of the Guardians. In 19 at-bats, he slashed 368, 429, 1.053 with a 1.481 OPS. 8 runs, 4 homers, 7 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, 7 hits, a double, 1 walk, and 4 strikeouts.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
I can't argue with it. Do you just have a Moneyball guy, or do you have a regular hitter too?
I got 2. So
Right.
the hot hitter I have was J.J. Bleday from the Cincinnati Reds.
Mm-hmm.
This week, 375, 464, 750, 5 runs on 9 hits, 3 doubles, 2 home runs, 10 RBIs, 4 walks, and 5 strikeouts.
Yeah.
And then your Moneyball guy is Gavin Sheets from the Padres. A slash line of, buckle up, 625, 739, 1438 with an OPS, obviously, it was 2177 for the week. 6 runs on 10 hits, 1 double, 4 homers, 8 RBIs, 7 walks, and 1 stolen base. And a number that we love to see when a guy has a good week like this is only 2 strikeouts.
Yeah, that's nuts. That's video game numbers right there. Honest to God. I'm going to throw a special shout out for Jason because dude's been raking for the Phillies. Schwarber, 253, 79, 792, OPS 1171, 24 at bats, 5 runs, 4 homers, 9 RBIs, a stolen base, 6 hits, a double, 5 walks, 11 strikeouts. I mean, that's always going to be like that for Schwarber, but he's been raking right now.
Yeah, it's been impressive. It's been sad as a Cub fan who was still playing for Chicago.
Yeah, dude, I feel that. I absolutely feel that. All right, let's move it over to the pitchers. No kidding. All right, I'm going to shout out a former Brave that I still have a soft spot for. Wish things would have worked out around injuries. Mike Soroka had a great week. He had 2 starts. One of them was a quality start, 12 innings, 13 strikeouts. He went 2-0, an ERA of 150, a whip of 1, 2 earned runs, 9 hits, 3 walks. Yeah, boy, talk about a guy that, man, back-to-back Achilles injuries like that. He's never going to be, he's never going to hit that potential he had when he came up. But I'm always going to have a soft spot for Soroka. What do you got there, Joe?
So top pitcher, I had Bailey over from the Twins. 2-0, a 193 ERA, 1 complete game shutout. 14 innings pitched, 8 hits, 3 runs, 2 homers, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts, a .71 whip, a 163 batting average against. And then your adulting reliever of the week is Kevin Kelly from the Tampa Bay Rays. 4 appearances. He only had 1 save opportunity, which he didn't convert, but he went 4 1/3 innings, 2 hits, no runs, no walks, 3 strikeouts, a .46 whip, a 167 batting average against. Hard to argue with that.
Nope, can't argue with that one. And for Jason, I got to throw Wheeler out there. Boy, the Phillies are so happy he's back and pitching well. 2-0 in his 2 starts, 14 1/3 innings, 12 strikeouts. I'm going to say only because I know typically with Wheeler, 14 1/3 would be like 16, but still. 1 earned run, 10 hits, a walk, ERA of .63 and a whip of .77. So toss that out there for Jason as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Joe. That's all I've got for this week. Do you have anything else for us?
The only thing I'll say is there was a really neat moment with Brandon Nimmo this week.
Mm-hmm.
There was a Jordan ball that was probably going into the seats and going into this guy's glove, and he let Nimmo rob him of the homer. He's a Houston fan, which is even funnier. But he respects the game enough to go, yeah, I'm going to let him catch this.
Yeah.
And Nimmo, for his part, gave him 2 signed balls later in the game. And one of them says, thanks for letting me go after that one.
I like that.
So that's a neat little nugget for the week for you.
Nimmo's a class act. He really is.
Oh, yeah.
All right, guys, that's going to be it for us this week. Audio recordings are available on Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, pretty much anywhere you can find podcasts. We're live on YouTube as well as Facebook. Merchandise is at redbubble.com/people/DDAB-podcast. Follow us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/dollardogsandbeer. We're presented by Dark Arrow Podcast LLC and sponsored by Baron Barbershop over in Manheim. May your dogs always cost $1. May your beer always be cold. And good God, Pennsylvania, let's get back to normal May temperatures this weekend because I'm sweating like mad over here. Take it easy, guys.